Hi everyone, this is a little bit of a progress report on the Virtual Apprentice Adobe Innovation Grant project. So I want to cover two things today. One is some of the tools that I've put in here that we could consider for the storyboarding. So this is assuming that we haven't got a sequence yet. We're halfway there, but this is just to give everyone a bit of inspiration on how the sequence of the game could work. So we're very much making a video game here, which is, I think, really, really cool. So what you're seeing now is a really basic test environment that I've made, and this won't be in the final experience. It's just purely put in there so you can understand, get a bit of perspective on how it might look. So I've made a little pretend workshop. We've got a concrete floor, a ceiling, and we've got just some stock images around the side to very, very roughly replicate what a factory or a workshop could look like. Okay, and it's huge, very, very big. The rocket, obviously, our engineering students aren't necessarily building rockets, or if they are, we don't know about it. The idea of the 3D rocket is to replicate, or just to put a placeholder in of what a piece of equipment like a lathe or a drill or something like that might be. That's positioned about 1.5 meters off the ground. Okay, what you'll see in front of you, this is the bit that the game is really about. For anyone of my vintage or anyone that's cool, this is a 1980s gaming console, handheld console. I started with an Adobe 3D object, but it's had a lot of modifications since. So I've ripped the guts out of it. I've taken out anything inside that's not relevant. This was modelled extremely specifically. It's got all the frame and everything inside it. That's all gone. It's got new buttons, and it's in a very close match to the Swinburne Red. And if you look really closely, you'll be able to see that the texture is actually a plastic type texture. So it's deliberately matte, so there's not a lot of reflection, but a little bit. Okay. So we're in edit mode, as you can see. What I'd now like to do is take you into the preview mode and how the game might work. So these are pretty high res files, but the style is to go for a 1980s aesthetic with sort of lots of color, but 16 or 8-bit artwork. So we have Ready Player One. This is a fixed image that won't change, but it can. And we've got our Swinburne logo here in 16-bit glory. I think it looks beautiful. The game has 4 buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's structured in this way so we can create a sequence. So this is broadly around how we want our students to use a piece of equipment. First of all, before they start, so the things that a student needs to consider before using a piece of machinery. Second, using the machine, obviously. Third, cleanup. And the fourth step is to download the standard operating procedure. This is something we need to work through, because at the moment, if a student pressed this button mid-game, it would take them out of the experience and it would take them to the standard operating procedure and they'd have to start again. So that's something we need to talk about. So the idea is that I'm roughly, at the moment, standing at... let's just have another look. So that's the floor where the dot is. Our game is 70 centimeters above floor level, and I think that's about right. That's about desk height, so we can adjust it, but I think it's pretty close. At the moment, this is where a human being could roughly be standing when the game starts. Let's do it. So let's assume that we walk up to the game and we press before you start. So you can see, first of all, there's a 3D image of
greetings and
no
welcome.
Food and drink.
My name is Swintendo. Before we start, do you have food or drink? That backslash
So as you can
S
see, the
great.
game's
Can you
talking
leave it in the bin for me to eat?
using a robot
Robots
voice, and
love
there's
trash meals.
few little jokes there about
Now
not
down
eating
to
food.
business. Are you sure you are ready to start? Robots are strong but humans break, so if you don backslash T, have your safety glasses, correct clothing, and boots, please go and do that now. If you need first aid or to wash your eyes out, do you know where to go? Have a look around the room now. That backslash
So the
S
game's
right.
encouraging
Scan
the
your
user
phone
to
to
look
the
around
left.
the room,
Scan it to the right.
and they
Now
will
scan
see
behind you.
the
Now, are there any slipping hazards?
The emergency exit,
Yes,
the
or
eyewash. Shower. Well, it's actually an eyewash. That's pretty
Get
important
it?
when you're in a workshop.
A robot
First aid
walks
kit,
into a
etc.,
bar.
etc.
The
I've
bartender
built
says,
these out
the robot
of
replies,
Illustrator
/,
files,
but
and we
someday
can
you will
make the
/.
hazards as large as we
You are
want them
now
to be.
ready
I think
to
at the
use
moment
this
they're 2
machine, and
meters
it
high.
happens to be a friend of mine. Press button to move to the next level.
So you may not have heard that, but there was a few little gags there. But what it was actually meaning to do was probably 3 main things. Are you sure you're ready? Have you got your gear? So if we look closely at our little work shirt here, this is actually a Swinburne branded Trades and Engineering Technology 3D shirt. We could make a whole set of personal protective equipment in 3D if we wanted to. Our little mugs here and our fries. I've actually made this coffee mug with a little meme on it. Education is important, but welding is importanter. What you may not have heard in the game too is that the robot did a little joke about slipping hazards. So the robot asked the user, are there any slipping hazards on the floor? Yes or nah. Bit of a dad joke. There's a banana on the floor. So the student would actually look around and hopefully see that on the floor. So by the end of this game, they know not to have food and drink. They get to see the personal protective equipment. They're asked to go back and get that personal protective equipment if they don't have it. They're asked to look at their environment, and they're meant to see this banana. And the banana's more or less to scale. There's other fun things we could do if we get into it. Once they've done this, they can then move on to other levels. So that's the game. I'm keen to hear some feedback, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this gives some inspiration for how the story of the game can be structured from here.